Stephanie, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to bring you my O.W.L.s TBR. If you're not familiar, the O.W.L.s are a test from Harry Potter, Ordinary Wizarding Levels, and G from Book Roast does this really elaborate readathon where she made a huge guide for wizarding careers, and it says which O.W.L.s you need, and then also the newts, which are in the fall. And every subject that you need for your degree has a prompt. So I'll link all her info down below so that you can go check it out if you want more information about the readathon. Last year, I decided to go for the librarian position, and I did complete all 12 O.W.L.s, even though I was only required to complete 5 for the librarian position. So it was a really good time. So this year, to mirror my own life, I have decided to go for Hogwarts professor so that I can use my librarian degree and then my teaching degree and become the Hogwarts librarian. And then I get to go in the restricted section. Even if there's not a position at Hogwarts, there are positions available at other wizarding schools, which is really cool. So in order to get this certification, I have to pass 7 O.W.L.s in total, 1 in a subject I wish to teach, 1 in Defense Against the Dark Arts, and then 5 additional subjects of my choice. So, being the overachiever that I am, once again, I've decided to just do all 12 O.W.L.s, and there are also some extra seminars that you can take, such as animagus training, that I will be participating in as well. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. I would also like to mention that you are not allowed to double up on these challenges, so each prompt is a separate book. So my TBR is going to be unreasonably huge this month. The first prompt is Ancient Runes, Heart Rune, read a book with a heart on the cover or in the title. So I decided to read Hearts Unbroken by Cynthia Letich Smith. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. This follows Native American Louise Wolfe, and her first real boyfriend mocked her and disrespected Native people in front of her, so she decides to break things off and dump him over email. And it's her senior year, and she decides to just focus all her energy into spending time with her friends and her family and the school newspaper. While she's working on the newspaper, she gets paired with Joey Carruthers, the ambitious new photojournalist, and in no time, the paper staff find themselves with a major story to cover. The school musical director's inclusive approach to casting The Wizard of Oz has been provoking backlash in their mostly white, middle-class Kansas town. From the newly formed Parents Against Revisionist Theater to anonymous threats, long-held prejudices are laid bare and hostilities are spreading against members of the community. And at the center of the controversy is Lou's little brother. And as tension mounts, a romance between Lou and Joey starts to develop. But as she's learned, dating while native can be difficult. But in trying to protect her own heart, will she break Joey's instead? So I am really excited about this book. I don't really have a lot of books with Native American representation, so I'm really excited to read this, and it sounds like it's going to be really good and bring up a lot of really good discussion points. Next is Arithmancy, Magical Qualities of Number 2, Balance or Opposites. Read something outside your favorite genre. So for this, I chose a book that has been on my shelf for a while and I just haven't read it, and that is Fierce Femmes and Notorious Liars, A Dangerous Trans Girl's Confabulous Memoir by Kai Chang Tom. And this was a pick for our shared shelf, Emma Watson's book club, and I just that month did not have time to read it, so it just ended up on my shelf. But this looks like it's a mix between prose and poetry, and it's a memoir that talks about transgender people and challenging the transgender norm, and it's supposed to be a queer coming of age story as well, and I think it'll be really good. I don't really read a lot of memoirs. That's probably one of my least read genres, so I am excited to read this. Next is Astronomy, Night Classes. Read majority of this book when it's dark outside. And for this is a super old copy, but it was my grandmother's. But I want to read Anne of Windy Populars by L.M. Montgomery. This is the 4th book in the Anne of Green Gables series, and we're just following the story of Anne in her life. And it's set in Prince Edward Island in Canada, and I adore this series. Next is Care of Magical Creatures, Hippogriffs. Read a book with a creature with a beak on the cover. And for this, I chose Wicked as You Wish by Ren Chupeco. This is a new release that just came out at the beginning of March, and it's kind of hard to see on the cover, but there's a bunch of animal pictures in the lettering, and one of them is a bird. So there is a beak on the cover. It's just really tiny. This is the first book in the 100 Names for Magic series, and I really don't know that much about it. I got approved for an e-arc, and I have yet to read it because I am an awful book reviewer. And just based on the cover, it looks like it's going to be awesome. And I've heard awesome things about Ren Chupeco's writing, so I'm really excited to jump into that. Next is Charms, Lumos Maxima. Read a book with a white cover. And for that, Cheyenne has convinced me to choose Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. I want to go into this a little bit blind, but basically it has magical nun assassins, and the series is highly praised. So I have the audiobook, and the physical book is coming in the mail at some point. And I've heard the audiobook is phenomenal. And Cheyenne super, super hypes it up. And I think I'm really, really gonna like it. Next is Defense Against the Dark Arts, Grindelows. Read a book set at the sea or coast. And for that, I chose the middle grade novel The Lion Tender by Kate Allen. And I don't know a ton about this book, but what really captured my eye was the cover because of all the marine life on it and the humpback whale, which are my favorite. But this basically follows the story of Lucy Everhart, and her mother was a marine biologist who died in a tragic accident, and she and her father are in the throes of grief and coming to terms with Lucy's mother's death. And one day her mother's beloved sharks start appearing and another tragedy occurs, and things go from there. So I have heard that this book is phenomenal and it's going to make me cry, and I've really been on a middle grade kick lately. So I'm really excited for this, even though I'm kind of scared how this is going to end. Next is Divination, Third Eye. Assign numbers to your TBR and use a random number generator to pick your read. So I have a lot of books on my TBR, so what I decided to do was I'm going to use a random number generator on my phone, So the first number I get is going to be the shelf, and the second number I get is going to be the book on that shelf. So, be right back. Okay, hi, I'm back. So I got the 34th shelf and the 20th book, which turned out to be A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. And I've not read the first book in that series, so I decided to just go with that one. So, that's okay. But the first book in the series is A Darker Shade of Magic, and it's really sad because I own the trilogy and I have not read a single one of them. But basically, in this world, there are 4 Londons. So there's Grey London, no magic with a mad king. Then there's Red London, where magic is really revered. White London is a city slowly being drained through magical war. And once upon a time, there was a Black London, but nobody talks about Black London anymore. And our main character, Kel, is a rare person who can travel between these worlds. And in the process, he meets Lila Bard, and I think they team up to save one of the Londons, I think. But I have heard nothing but good things about this book, so I really should read this, especially since I think my mother got me this one here for my birthday. So, thanks, Mom. Next is Herbology, Mimbulus Mimbletonia. Read a book with a title that starts with M. And that worked out so perfectly because if you've been watching my channel, you know that I'm participating in the Austen Anonymous Read Along, where every month we read one Jane Austen work. And April's book happens to be Mansfield Park. So this worked out quite well. And this also will fulfill my challenge to myself of reading one classic per month. History of Magic, Witch Hunts. Read a book featuring witches or wizards. The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This is a middle grade Newbery Award winner. So every year in this village, the people of this village leave a baby as an offering to the witch who lives in the forest in order to keep her from terrorizing the town. The witch does treat these children very well. She's really kind and gentle. One year, she accidentally feeds this baby moonlight, and this ordinary child suddenly becomes extraordinary. And she decides to keep this girl, who she calls Luna, as her own, and as Luna's 13th birthday approaches, things begin to take a turn, and her magic seems to start to get out of control. And I've heard that this book is amazing, and I'm really excited. I've really been in a middle grade mood, like I said. Next is Muggle Studies. Read a book from the perspective of a Muggle, aka a contemporary book. And that is Well Met by Jen DeLuca, which has received rave reviews. And this is set at a Renaissance fair. And I don't know too much about it. It's a contemporary rom-com, but it's got one of the best opening lines I've read in a while. I didn't choose the wench life. The wench life chose me. So I think it'll be great. Next is Potions, Shrinking Solution. Read a book under 150 pages. And for this, I chose a poetry book. This is To Those Who Were Our First Gods by Nicole Brown. And I love Nicole so much. She was my poetry teacher for my classes at my undergrad, and she just really empowered me as a writer and as a person, and I absolutely love her poetry. She is so insanely talented and a master at line breaks and just playing with the words to make all new meanings in the poem, and I think this will be really, really good. Her last two books, Sister and then Fanny Says, were beautiful, and I've read them multiple times and I still love them, and I still get something new out of them every time. So this is only like 50 pages, so it'll be a short read, but I think an impactful one. And the last test is Transfiguration, Animagus Lecture, a book or series that includes shapeshifting. And that is Mooncakes by Wendy Zhu and Suzanne Walker. And I actually got to read this as an ARC before it came out, and I loved it so much that I got the physical copy. And it's about teen witch Nova, and she follows a report of a white wolf in the woods and discovers her childhood crush, who is actually werewolf Tam Lang, who is battling a horse demon. And they band together to try to figure out what's going on and defeat the evil that is coming into their town. But this is the sweetest graphic novel, and it's got great queer rep, non-binary rep. It does have shapeshifting, werewolf, and they do bake, and I love the art style in here. Like, it's so colorful and vibrant, and it was a really fast, fun read, and it was just so sweet. And I've been really in the mood for happy, uplifting reads, so this is absolutely perfect for that. On to the new stuff. It's like the longest TBR video ever. I am so sorry. But one of the seminars I want to take is Animagus training, and for that, you really just have to get owls in arithmancy, potions, and transfiguration. So as long as I finish those books, I will get the Animagus certification. And then the other one I want to do is Dragon Tamer. So basically all you have to do for this is you have to hold a Magizoologist status, which I finished all 12 owls last year, so technically I could be a Magizoologist. If that's breaking the rules, I'm sorry. But the requirement is to do extra research on dragons and read a book with dragons. So I chose the Tea Dragon Society by Katie O'Neill. This is the most adorable little graphic novel I've ever read in my life. And it's got little tea dragons in there that grow tea leaves that you can pick for this special tea, and they all have their own little personalities. And it is just so stinking cute, and it's got such great rep in here. There's people of color, disability rep, I think there's queer rep, and it's just so heartwarming and wholesome. It's a really fast read, and I'm really looking forward to rereading this because I love it. And those are all my prompts for the owls. So on top of this insanely huge TBR, I also have some books that I want to read, or at least continue on throughout the month of April. The first book is The Dragon Reborn by Robert Jordan. This is the third book in the Wheel of Time series. Next, I want to continue on with my reread of Anna Karenina. I am a third of the way through it, and I don't plan on finishing it this month, but I do want to get a good portion of the way through the rest of it. I'm really loving my reread of this. And next, I got this book from a really, really sweet person, Simply Bookish Mom, and she just did it to brighten my day. So that is Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. I've been wanting to read this book for forever, and I finally got it this month. and I'm so excited. I've heard that this book is so cute and so good. And finally, The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I am reading this for the Sisterhood of the Traveling Books book club. I'll link it down below, but that is run by Yumi, Allie, and Cheyenne, and so the book for April is The Hunger Games. And I read this book when it first got published, and I remember really liking it, and I just never continued on with the series. I guess because I had to wait for the next one, and by then I'd forgotten about it. But I own all of them now, and this can also count for the prompt with a beak on the cover. But that is my extremely unrealistic huge TBR for the month of April and for the O.W.L.s Readathon. Are you guys participating? If so, are you reading any of these books? Or if you're down for a buddy read for any of these books, let me know. And as always, if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.